Fantastic. So welcome everyone to Check It Out. Today is the 4th of April, 2025. My name is Ryan. Lynn, I am an assistive technology specialist here at Vista Center, and I'm thrilled to be here with you all. We're recording today's meeting, as you just heard. If you don't want to be recorded, you can turn off your camera. Or if you would like, you can also exit the meeting as well. In a couple of weeks, the recorded video will be available on our website and also on YouTube. You'll be able to find it on our Check It Out page. If you scroll down all the way to the down on the page, and you can find the meeting recording on the left-hand side. Or if you're tabbing through, you'll be able to find it near the bottom. We hold these Check It Out meetings once a month. They're always the first Friday of every month. And as an attendee today, you'll be part of that emailing list, and you'll receive those meeting announcements probably about 1 to 2 weeks prior to the meeting itself. So we can all enjoy today's presentation. I've muted everyone when our presenters do ask for questions when it is that time for Q&A. If you'd like to ask a question, just please raise your hand, and then either myself or one of my colleagues, potentially McKenna, will be able to ask that you unmute yourself, and then you can ask your question. In order to raise your hand, if you are on a PC, it's Alt plus Y to raise and lower your hand, Alt plus A to mute and unmute your audio. On a Mac, it's Option Y to raise and lower your hand, and then Command Shift A to mute and unmute your audio. If you're on a phone, *9 raises and lowers your hand, and then *6 toggles mute and unmute. And so for today, our presenters I've had the privilege of meeting a few of them, and they were part of our Site Tech Global event in past December. And so we have Anat, and then she's the founder and CEO of the assistive.consulting. And we have Nathan, who's the COO of Lighthouse Tech, and Patrick, CEO and co-founder of Benvision. They'll be able to go into more details when it's time for their introduction. But for now, what we would like to present to you is their presentation that they had for Site Tech Global. So I will go ahead and begin that video. And please enjoy.
Smart Mobility, Advancing Solutions for the Visually Impaired. Speakers: Nathan Deutsch, COO and Innovation Lead, Lighthouse Tech. Kursat Ceylan, co-founder of WeWalk. Patrick Burton, co-founder and CEO of Benvision. Moderator: Anat Nulman, founder and CEO, Assistive Consulting.
Thank you, Karen Ross. Thank you for hosting our session. What an honor to join an amazing line of speakers and panelists here at Site Tech Global. And welcome to Smart Mobility, Advancing Solutions for People Who are Visually Impaired session. Today, you will hear from 3 visionary leaders in assistive technology as they explore the groundbreaking solutions transforming mobility for people who are visually impaired. From cutting-edge obstacle detection systems to the integration of AI, you will hear firsthand how these pioneers are tackling the age-old challenges with creativity and compassion. Our expert panelists will share their insights on emerging technologies, how these technologies integrate with traditional solutions, such as white canes and guide dogs, critical role of mobility training, and the future of AI and mobility, navigation, and obstacle avoidance. But before we dive in, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Anat Nulman. I've been an advocate, an ally, and evangelist in assistive technology field for the past 11 years. I worked for 2 manufacturers of assistive devices and launched multiple products to market. Last year, I founded assistive.consulting, where I help companies that build solutions for people with disability, primarily for people who are visually impaired, bring their innovations to market and reach as many users as possible. My current clients span diverse areas like mobility, smart glasses, braille, and accessible telecommunications. Today, I'm joined by 3 extraordinary leaders. Kursat Ceylan, co-founder and chief product officer at WeWalk, Patrick Burton, CEO and co-founder at Benvision, and Dr. Nathan Deutsch, operations and innovation lead at Lighthouse Technologies. I will let them introduce themselves. Kursat, please take it away.
Thank you, Anat. It's a privilege to be here together with you. I am blind from birth, and I studied in a primary school for blind children, and then I attended inclusive high school education. Then I studied psychological counseling at university, and after my graduation, I dived into technology worlds, and as a team, we have implemented various technologies for visually impaired people, such as audio description technology for movie theaters. And for the last 4 years, we have been focusing on WeWalk smart cane technology. And I am one of the co-founders of WeWalk. And at WeWalk, we focus on enhancing the mobility of visually impaired people with our patented smart cane technology.
Patrick? Thank you, Kursat.
Excellent. Such an honor to be here at SiteTech Global. So my name is Patrick Burton, and I am an accessibility hacker. And if you don't know what that means, that's because I made it up right now. But I'm CEO and co-founder of Benvision. We make Speakaboo, but the more exciting thing that we're working on, in my opinion, is called Ben, the binaural experience navigator, if you want to be extra. And what Ben does, it uses music and spatial audio to give an echolocation-like navigation experience. So think sonar meets symphony. That's what we're building.
I love it. Thank you, Patrick. Nathan?
So again, honored to be here. Hi, Anat. Hi, co-panelists. I'm Nathan, COO at Lighthouse Tech, social scientist by training, and I'm interested in the way people learn about and interact with their environments and how they make changes, imagine, design solutions to the problems that they perceive. So we produce TAMI. It's a smart eyewear solution for people living with blindness and vision impairments. Personally, I'm sighted. I have no vision impairments or visual perceptual impairments myself, but I've been working now on this project for roughly 3 years, so I'm relatively new to this space.
Thank you very much, panelists. So before we jump into the discussion on solutions, let's first try to identify what problems mobility solutions are aiming to solve. What specific navigation and mobility challenges do people who are visually impaired face in their daily lives? How is your technology addressing those changes? And what gaps remain in the current landscape of assistive technology for mobility? Kursat, let's start with you.
So it's a really deep question because there are different angles of this question. When I go out, currently, there are some challenges I have to deal with. We cannot say that visually impaired people have only one problem while going somewhere, and if we solve it, then everything will be perfect. No, detecting obstacle is one of them, and important. And also, so most of the people think that the only problem of visually impaired people is to detect obstacles. But even if we detect obstacles, I have to know which direction should I go walk. And also, while we are going somewhere, we have to increase our spatial awareness, what is around ourselves, and also to increase our spatial awareness and also to navigate somewhere, we have to use different applications. And can you imagine we are going somewhere with our white cane and we are using it with our one hand, and with the other hand we have to use our smartphone to use different applications, not Google Maps or different applications developed for blind people, and we have to switch between them. That's why I believe visually impaired people are having challenges detecting obstacles, increasing their spatial awareness, and also using different applications. So all those the problems of visually impaired people right now. And also with the VWalk Smart Cane, we target all those problems. So you don't need to switch different applications. You don't need to hold your smartphone. You can put into your pocket, and then you can reach all the information from your smart cane, either by using physical buttons, or you can simply talk to your cane thanks to our custom trained voice assistant technology.
Well, thank you very much, Kurshad, for sharing that. Nathan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's problems that training and traditional tools already deal with very well, but there are problems that continue to cause a lot of anxiety, and I think we've zeroed in on one of those problems that can deeply affect people's lives. We're focused on providing people with a safe mobility experience by protecting the upper body from collisions with obstacles, and this is the zone that the traditional white cane can't see. But another important gap that we've really worked hard on is stigma and inclusion. And we're trying in this path, we're making a discrete wearable in the form of glasses. The company's founders are fashion eyewear industry experts. We're leveraging that experience to really start with a discrete assistive technology that enhances safety, but it also reduces the stigma around what can normally be a bulky assistive device in some cases. And at the same time, we're complementing those traditional tools. So I think in this current landscape of assistive technology, we're really sort of going to a nice wearable integration, and we think that wearables are an exciting space to be working in right now, not just in assistive technology, but it's certainly getting there. And we're seeing a lot of innovation in the eyewear space, and we're bringing in our solution there too. And we want to experiment with that form factor to make it effective to be safer in terms of mobility.
By the way, thank you for bringing upper body obstacle detection aspect. You can see I have some scars on my front head, so it is real pain point for visually impaired people. I totally agree with you.
Cool, thanks.
Definitely. And Patrick, do you want to share a few thoughts from your side? I know your solution uses music to tackle some of those problems, but what problems are you guys tackling specifically?
Absolutely. So I myself, I am sighted, but I work at a charity for the blind, and I see people, tripping over things and bumping into things and hitting their head on things like Kurshad. I would say that what I see the most, though, beyond the loss of independence and mobility, is the mental and emotional exhaustion that comes from relying on your other senses to get around. And something that I love about this panel is that all of our solutions, after researching them, they all use nonverbal cues in one way or another. And so many assistive tech solutions for sight loss rely on speech. I should know we make one of them, Speakaboo. But when you're trying to accomplish a task like navigating from one room to another, that takes a really heavy cognitive load. And it can be exhausting and really difficult to think about anything else but navigation when you're trying to follow a set of directions to do that. So what Benvision's doing to solve that is we're taking advantage of the technologies of augmented reality and spatial audio. We anchor virtual speakers to that play different music, that play music to different objects and waypoints and regions around your space, so that rather than following a laundry list of directions to get somewhere, you can actually just walk to where the sound is coming from. Through testing, we found that not only is that more intuitive to navigate that way, but it actually frees up space in your brain. Two of our beta testers were talking with each other about the experience of using Ben while they were using it, and suddenly one of them realized, oh my God, I can carry a conversation while I'm using this. I never thought that would be possible with a solution like this. So I like to think that by our use of music, we're putting the humanity back into assistive tech. We're giving you a piece of your brain back.
Fascinating. There are obviously many, many challenges, but let's hone on obstacle avoidance specifically. Despite new technologies, why is obstacle avoidance still an ongoing challenge? What are the limitations of current technology in accurately detecting obstacles, especially in dynamic or complex environments, which is a lot of environments we're in on a daily basis? And how are you innovating to address that particular issue? And what advancements do you foresee in the next few years? So, Patrick, let's start with you this time.
Excellent. Yes, I love this question. You guys are all about to find out what a big nerd I am. So the challenge is really, I mean, it's just such a complex problem. You know, computer vision comes in so many different flavors, and each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. For instance, there's object recognition, which draws a bounding box around detected object categories, and so you can kind of approximate their location by their box. Then there's another method called segmentation, which takes it one step further by identifying actually which pixels on your screen belong to which object category. And then there's something called depth estimation, or LiDAR is a common method, and those can tell you how close or far away an object is from you, but there's no color information there, so they can't tell you what the objects are. And then nowadays we have visual large language models, or VLLM for short, which are trained on much larger data sets of images, and they can give you precise information about what you're seeing in natural language. You could even ask a VLLM, like, what is that over on the right side of the screen? And it'll tell you, oh, that's a box with a trophy on it or something. And they're great, but sometimes they hallucinate. Sometimes they give you the wrong information. So all of these different methods, they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and some give you information that others don't, and some of them take more compute power than others do. So I think the perfect solution will be one that marries all of them together and knows which to use in the in the appropriate scenarios. And so to get even more technical, there's other challenges like tracking objects. You know, how if your object disappears from the camera's field of view and then comes back, then how does the model know that it's the same object? Or if it disappears behind a tree and then reappears, then how do we know that it's the same object and not a different one? And thankfully the models are starting to get better, and they're handling that a little bit better, but they still make mistakes sometimes. So what it boils down to, I think, is that the human brain is an incredible thing, and it does all of this processing of light information and feeds it to us so that we can digest it instantly. But we truly don't understand everything that the brain is doing in this process, and that makes it hard to emulate, especially in real time. That all been said, you know, that's all the problem of interpreting the information or getting the information. Now, how do you communicate it all to the user once you have it? And that's the big issue that we're addressing with Ben, is that for real-time assistance, especially in crucial moments involving safety, like speech just isn't going to cut it. Hearing somebody say, watch out for that car isn't going to have the same effect as hearing a horn blaring at you, right? They mean the same thing, but one is certainly going to be more effective than the other. And speech takes a lot of brain power to process too. We need to tap into the human brain's remarkable ability, I think, to process nonverbal cues, like music or like haptics. And that's where sometimes I get frustrated that people look at Benvision like it's an art project or a novelty because we're using music. But we're not just a novelty. Through testing, we've shown that music is actually one of the best ways to solve this problem.
Very, very interesting. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing that. And for those who are listening to us today who are coming from the tech side, I'm glad that you highlighted some of the technologies that you guys implement in Benvision. Nathan, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to add something here, and I'm glad to let Patrick be the nerd here. Maybe I'll get into another slightly different subject, though. But just to note that the technology is always improving. And in our case, what that means is we're getting a little bit better at doing things with smaller spaces and tinier projects than ever. And lately, we can start to put these pieces together in novel form factors, exciting form factors like smart glasses. So it's exciting for us to start to work with these things. New designs have to emerge. New ways of interacting discreetly with the technology and the environment around you when you sort of change these things up. So also just notice where it's a tool. You can't just pick it up and go, but you can't. You have to remember that there's challenges involved in developing a relationship with that tool that you're using, so you can use it effectively, and so it doesn't distract you from other things. So, that's our angle. We use haptics. Benvision is musical, and we chose a different feedback with this, which is the haptics. And that helps you because awareness of the environment around you and locations of obstacles is complex. And there's tools that can really afford major improvements in people's lives because they are increasing the possibility of perceiving these things in the environment around you. But you need to increase your skills and abilities. The technology grows with the user. And so I sort of I'd bring it back to a low-tech tool, which is the white cane, which is a really great example of this. It's a very reliable tool. Unfortunately, it doesn't protect you in the upper body zone. And I think we're trying to pack some technology into a very tiny space and try to alleviate that gap.
Thank you, Nathan. And I also want to point out that using haptics, for example, opens up the solutions to a different demographic for people who may have both vision and hearing loss. And often using auditory cues may not be available to them because they can't hear them or cannot hear them very well. So it's not just serving the people who are visually impaired, but it's also serving other folks who and expanding the technology and making it more accessible to others. So I'm glad you mentioned, Nathan, white canes. So when I'm out and about in the community and I talk about different mobility solutions, there's always a question: is this instead of the white cane, or is this instead of a guide dog? How new technology, or I should say, can the new technology replace these traditional aids, or there should be some kind of a hybrid, given that the white cane is the oldest assistive device that has been available to people who are visually impaired? And if it is some kind of a hybrid model where all these new devices and the solutions that you guys are talking about and many others can complement guide dogs and white canes, how would that work? So Nathan, let's start with you because you kind of alluded to it earlier, but I just want to hone on it a little bit more.
Yeah, so sure. Yeah, so if there's an ideal hybrid model, or if it's going to be a model that we're talking about, some hybrid, then it's going to be highly individualized. It depends on the person. But one thing that we continue to hear from people, and that we've taken into internalized as we're building our product is that you do want to have different kinds of feedback. You want to have the feedback from the white cane. You need other kinds of feelings for the way you move with your upper body area. That's something that we've taken into consideration here when we make smart glasses, and we always make sure that we say we use this is for use with a white cane or guide dog. And we also hear about the benefits of having some redundancy in the system. So if your fancy device falls down in the toilet or something, it's not going to prevent you from going about your day. So this is all, considerations that we take into account when we say, no, we're not trying to replace a traditional tool.
Mm-hmm. And Krishat, WeWalk is a smart cane. So you took, the oldest mobility device and made it smarter. Tell us more about it.
So, as a blind person, as you may guess, I am real white cane lover. So that's why we didn't replace white cane. So we just improved it, and also maybe I want to go back to the previous question as well. So obstacle detection question. So I agree with Patrick. So to deliver better obstacle detection capacity, we have to aggregate data from different sources such as camera or LiDAR or ultrasonic, etc. And however, all those technologies will need more computing power, and then more computer power means more power consumption, and then at the end of the day, you will find yourself holding a really bulky device. And what we are doing with the WeWalk Smart Cane right now, we resemble the traditional white cane. It is as slim as traditional white cane. It is as light as traditional white cane, but we added obstacle detection technology for upper body obstacles, and we use ultrasonic sensor. And again, as Patrick mentioned, so all those technologies have downsides and upsides, and that's why we just didn't put the obstacle detection sensor. We improved it with our engineers, and right now we reduce the disadvantage of ultrasonic sensor, for example, by narrowing the field of view. So it is important, and also it is important because we don't want to give too much stimulus to visually impaired people, and that's why we developed WeWalk Smart Cane, and we didn't replace with the other technology.
Thank you, Krishat. Patrick?
Yeah. First of all, I'm just blown away by both of your innovation. That's your products are so cool. So to speak to your first question, I would think about whether guide dogs and white canes are still valuable. Of course they are. I mean, first of all technology can fail. Even white canes and even guide dogs. White canes can be misplaced. Guide dogs can be, I don't know, distracted by food, maybe. But that said, I don't think either of those solutions are going anywhere. And I love what Kirshat's doing by building on the tried and true white cane, because that's been around for I think 100 years, and for good reason, because it works, and there's so many gaps in computer vision technology, like I mentioned before, that a white cane or a guide dog can navigate with ease. So I don't think those solutions are going anywhere, and I don't think that they need to. But on the flip side, there's some places where they fall short, and where you, Nathan and Koshat, are both doing great innovation to kind of fill in those gaps. Like they can't protect you from head level obstacles, and they can't. I don't know. They can't read signs. They can't tell you. They can't help you find like a misplaced phone charger, for instance. I think all of our solutions kind of fill those gaps in different and innovative ways. But when I conduct these focus groups with the blind community, the overwhelming sentiment that I get from them is you'll take my cane or you'll take my guide dog over my cold dead body, and we're not trying to take those solutions away, because again, there's so many, they're great innovations, and there's so many gaps in current technology that I don't think are going to be solved anytime soon. So I'm thankful for those.
Thank you, all three of you, for your insights. The question that I asked, are guide dogs or white canes obsolete, was a little bit of a trigger question. We all know that I think none of the solutions are really trying to replace these traditional tools, but I wanted to hear your responses and how each one of your companies tackles that differently. On the other hand, and along the lines of tradition, is the orientation and mobility training. So it's a critical component, and most blind people, or everybody, at least in the US, who uses a cane, they usually go through orientation and mobility training. Why is it still critical, even with the advancement of new technology? How do you see your products complementing traditional mobility training methods like O&M? And how can we ensure that users are fully equipped to maximize the benefits of both the traditional training and the new technologies? And Koshat, let's start with you, because I know you guys have a very exciting solution for both mobility trainers as well as mobility orientation, mobility learners.
Yeah. So VWalk Smart Cane. We have two different products. The first one is a smart cane itself for visually impaired people. So it detects obstacles, gives navigation, and more. But also we have another product designed for O&M trainers. As you know, right now, all O&M training sessions are based on observation. When I left from the classroom, unfortunately, my trainer is not able to monitor my mobility experience. But thanks to VWalk's inbuilt sensors and AI technology, so we designed a dashboard for trainers where they can see my mobility experience, because when I go out, I'm not shaking my white cane randomly. There are some techniques and there are some essential metrics as well. For example, cane angle, swipe count, walking speed, step count, and confidence level. All those metrics are really essential to develop better mobility skills. So with our technology, O&M trainers are able to see all those metrics about their trainees. And this is the technology that we developed. And also O&M, although technology has advanced so much, O&M training sessions are so important, because at the end of the day, we, as a blind person, I have to manage my orientation. This is my responsibility. I cannot give it to a technology. For example, I cannot say that, okay, there will be a technology and it will take me from A to B. So then I will not have any orientation skill. No. At that point, most probably you will feel yourself really miserable. But O&M sessions are giving you self-confidence and ability to participate social life. That's why even technology advances. So we will keep getting O&M trainings.
Thank you, Kurshat. Nathan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I have something small to add. I really appreciate what you're doing with WeWalk, Kurshat. In our case, I guess one of the best ways to get products into the hands of people who can really use it, really use the device, is through those who are doing the training and assessments of needs. So that's where we interface with training. So they're the people who can respond to the user's needs. And so we're providing glasses through a network of distributors and user associations that can provide this training. So we want to make sure that there's support along the way. And that's all I would add in our case. But really exciting work you're doing there, Kurshat.
Thank you. Thank you both. Our session would not be complete without a discussion on AI. And while we can spend hours and days talking about AI, today we unfortunately have time to only scrape the surface, but it's still important to mention it. What role will AI play in navigation and obstacle avoidance for people who are visually impaired in the next 5 to 10 years, since it's changing very rapidly? What are some ethical concerns and safety guardrails that need to be in place as AI becomes more and more integrated into mobility technologies and just in general in our everyday life? And how do you see the evolution of AI-driven assistive devices impacting the independence and quality of life for the users? Patrick, do you want to share your thoughts on that?
Oh, please. Another nerd question. I love it. No, I'll try not to spend hours or days talking about it. So for Benvision specifically, a big challenge that we have right now is like if you're like in a dining room or if you're in a conference hall, the objects and obstacles that you would want to be aware of are going to be entirely different in those different scenarios. So how do we account for the different context, the changing context of every scenario in our algorithm? That presents a big challenge, and a bigger challenge is how do we intuitively communicate all that information with sound? Right now, there's a huge burden placed on our audio director, who's doing an amazing job, but she can't possibly design intuitive sounds that go with every single object in the world. So those are two big things that AI can help us with, because as you know, AI is a workhorse. It can account for all of those different contexts, and it can actually compose different sounds to match every single object in the universe. So to your question about ethical concerns, data privacy is probably the biggest one, right? Like, and it kind of presents this dilemma, because on the one hand, collecting data from users' cameras, especially the users of our products, that's actually the best way to directly and exponentially speed up our ability to improve the models that we're using. But on the other hand, obviously that carries some serious privacy and ethical concerns. What I can say is I see some of our contemporaries, what they're doing is sort of flipping the choice over to the user and giving them the option. And perhaps if they opt in, then they'll get free credits or premium services to share their data. And I think that's probably the right way to handle it. In terms of looking out to the future, I think that eventually, honestly, I think visual large language models are going to kind of take over everything. You know, all those other methods that I mentioned, like object recognition, segmentation, even depth estimation, depth detection. I think eventually visual LLMs will be smart enough that they can handle all of those different things. And maybe it'll make everything obsolete, but I think that's just a matter of getting enough training data and then compressing the models so that the Earth doesn't blow up from all of the compute power required to run them.
Well, thank you for succinct thoughts without spending hours, but I think you've covered many interesting considerations and in answering questions about AI. Kurshat, I know, again, was kind of taking what Patrick said about users opting in and opting out on whether they interested in sharing their data. I know you guys are doing something like that as well. So could you tell us more?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mentioned about the technology developed for O&M trainers. Of course, trainees can easily opt in, opt out. Thank you for bringing that. And also, form factor, as Nathan underlined it, is so crucial for developing assistive technologies. And I believe in the upcoming years, we will see smaller sensors, smaller processors and they will allow us to build more ergonomic devices. And also in terms of the AI, as you know, edge computing will be so important. Then it will allow us to aggregate all the data from different sources, different sensors. Patrick mentioned about it. And I believe in the upcoming years, we will have some devices in our hands, and even those devices won't need to go connect to the internet, and they will be able to process and run some AI modules in itself.
Thank you, Kurshat. Nathan, you know, your company is based on a form factor that is fashionable, and it kind of goes along the line of what Kurshat said. With technology, with new advancement in technology and in AI, there is a growing opportunity to make devices smaller, less obtrusive. So tell us more about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think I'd just say we're both in an AI revolution, but we're also in a wearables revolution, and this is where smaller is better. To us, those things go hand in hand in our design. So what excites us is efficiency and really also discreteness in terms of how we work together with our devices. So we're starting to see stuff coming out in the wild, not just us, but we're starting to see some interesting stuff. And but I would just say neither AI nor wearables are going to be the magic bullet for people living with vision impairment in and of themselves. But there's a lot going on now in the space. There's a lot of know-how around new technologies. So it's a great time to be out there doing this stuff.
Thank you all. So such an interesting discussion. As we're wrapping up our session, I want to give you an opportunity to share a few final thoughts and takeaways for our listeners. So Nathan, let's start with you, and let's make it really short.
Sure. So one final thought on the future of navigation and obstacles, I think, is just what we're getting is just to be focused, eyeing up one challenge right now, and that's as a company here. And we hope that by doing that we can fit into the larger picture, or the larger ecosystem better. So that's the key take home from my conversations with people testing the product. And of course, there's always people who want everything. We also get feedback that some of these problems need to be solved one step at a time, and that's what we're taking seriously. It's smart eyewear and it's wearable technology that we're building on. So it's very important that we make a usable tool. We stick to our mission of providing people with a discrete device that people can wear and use in a dignified way without screaming, "I've got an assistive device on my face."
Mm-hmm. Patrick?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on this panel. So my parting thought is that universal design, sometimes called inclusive design, is this idea that when we design for the inclusion of the most marginalized communities, everyone benefits as a whole. That's sort of central to our philosophy, and it's been the core idea behind the design of both Speakaboo and Ben. Curb cuts, automatic doors, closed captionings, even large language models, they all have their roots in accessibility. And I think that's something that's important for everyone, especially the sighted and fully abled people who might be listening here, to remember is that when you support this industry, you're not just giving to a charitable cause, you're not just helping a marginalized group of people, you're actually investing in the future of humanity as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Kurshad?
Whoever wants to develop technology for visually impaired people, they shouldn't forget community contribution. It's crucial, and also as a WeWalk, we always in touch with our community from Australia to Canada, USA to the UK. We are partnering with the leading blind organizations, and we developed our Smart Cane 2 with all those contribution, and we see the positive impact on our products. I strongly recommend everyone to get community contribution.
Thank you. What a lively discussion. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights. I hope that our listeners and viewers have enjoyed this conversation. And thank you again, SciTech Global. We are truly privileged to be here as part of a panel, and we're looking forward to seeing you next year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and in the share. Wonderful. So, Anat, I wanted to open the floor to you. Was there anything that you wanted to add since the recording? Anything that you wanted to prompt for Q&As? And then we can kind of go into that.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I think that was a great session, and when we were thinking about who the speakers will be, we wanted to make sure we bring presenters that are in the same field but have very different solutions. So Kurshad and WeWalk come from Smart Cane background. Nathan comes from smart eyewear, from fashion eyewear industry. And Patrick comes with a completely different spin on everything. Since our session, I've attended many events. In fact, the last event I was at, all four of us were there, and we took a picture and sent it to McKenna because we've never met in person, all four of us at the same time, and we just happened to be in the same place. And that's very exciting. There seems to be an explosion in mobility solutions for people who are visually impaired, and different companies tackle it differently. And with the three presenters that you just heard, just barely scrape the surface, right? There's a lot more. And as a trend in the industry, AI has allowed for a lot of technology and other advancement in terms of like instruments. It allowed a lot of advancement in assistive technology that was just simply not possible before. And I'm very excited with having many solutions because there is never, you take two people that may have the same eye condition and similar lifestyle, but their preferences could be different. So there's never one solution that fits all. So I think the more solutions we have, the better it is for the community. Choices are great. So three of us are here. Kurshad couldn't make it, he's traveling. But if there's any WeWalk specific questions, I'll try to address them. If there are questions that we can address, send them to Ryan, please, or to me, and then we can take those offline and get back to you. But we would love to hear your thoughts and any questions you may have.
Yes, thank you so much. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand and I'll go ahead and unmute you or ask to unmute you in the order that they were raised. Any other comments is great as well. Just a moment. Barhang, did you have a question?
Maybe we can say how to raise a hand. I see that everybody's muted, so maybe people, just as a reminder.
Will do. So just if you're on the phone, it's *6. Let me make sure that I have it written down here for Mac. So for on the phone, to raise your hand, it's *9 to lower and raise your hand. For Mac, it's Option Y, and then for PC, it's Alt Y. And then while we're waiting for folks to do that, Patrick, did you have anything to add that you wanted to kind of expand on, any new things happening in your world?
Yeah. First of all, sorry for talking so long. I didn't realize till after I listened to it just now, like, man, I went on for a while. But something kind of fun that happened, like I think 2 weeks after that that session went live, is that Google announced a new version of Gemini that was doing exactly what I was talking about with the VLMs. It added API access for this feature that you may have seen in some promotional videos now, where it's like a live video, it's live describing and live interpreting the things that it's seeing. And so since then we'd had some to not we've had some fundraising struggles with Ben, and we weren't able to move as fast on it as we've wanted to, but we're starting to come out of that hole, and that's one of the next frontiers for us, is exploring how how we can integrate a VLM to really kind of supercharge what we're already doing. So that's a small update from that last talk that we all had a few months ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. I will say that Anat was talking about, and Nathan were talking about the fashion glasses and so forth. I do have to say that Patrick is wearing these stellar red framed circle glasses that are pretty amazing. So I just have to give a shout out for those. So thank you.
Thank you. I dress to impress.
Yes. Morgan, I see that you have your hand raised. Are you able to unmute?
Yes, I believe I'm unmuted. Hello, thank you so much for that presentation. That was wonderful to hear about all of the new innovative smart mobility solutions that are coming out. I myself am a white cane user, although I call myself pink cane user, as my cane is not traditionally white and red anymore. I got it custom made. I've been very interested in WeWalk. And I know that WeWalk is not here today, but I didn't want to throw that out there. However, I'm very interested to hear more about the, I believe they're called the hammy glasses. Is that what you said? And a little bit more about how those are supposed to work. Are these, I know they're supposed to be fashionable, which is wonderful, but when you're wearing them, is it like auditory cues that you receive? Is it an AI that's giving the information? How exactly are they supposed to work in terms of navigation?
Hi, Morgan. Thanks for the question. Just checking to make sure I've unmuted properly and everybody can hear me all right?
We can.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So what we do is we've put two vibrating, so haptic motors in each of the arms of the eyewear. And this came out of meetings with people workshopping around the idea and then prototype testing. So it really was sort of a weird idea, I have to admit, when we started working on this. We initially thought we should focus on maybe getting the vibration to some other part of the, some other wearable, let's say something on a belt or something on some wristbands. And the feedback we got was, why don't we make something that's standalone? Because we're tired of having all this stuff that we have to do every time we want to walk out the door. So we did that. It still has Bluetooth, so we're thinking we can still build, and we're a startup, so it's same situation as Patrick. Funding is limited. We need to get something out the door, and we will quite soon, actually. But the aim was to get something intuitive out sooner rather than later. So it has two overlapping, you can say, cones of detection. It uses radar sensors, and each of the arms vibrate independently of the other, meaning that if an obstacle is more on the left side will start to vibrate independently. If the obstacle is centrally located and both radar sensors on each side are picking it up, it will start, both sides will warn you that there's a centrally located obstacle, and so on. And we found that this was a good system to sort of move beyond the kind of interaction you might get with an electronic white cane with sensors, or a handheld where you can actually really sort of scan using the, your hands, your arm. With glasses, you can't really do that. You wouldn't want to be constantly scanning with your head. So we had to look for a different way. And I hope that that answers your question in terms of how we do it.
Yes, that does. However, with your with your explanation, a couple more came to mind. My apologies. I'll make this quick. So the first question that I have is just more confirming. These glasses are meant to be a complement to the white cane or the guide dog, right? Not a replacement?
Yeah, so that's correct. We were told right from the get-go that we should focus on things in the upper body zone. So even if you extend the cone out to its maximum, you're not getting any feedback from lower obstacles that are close to the ground. Okay. So it really, you can think of it as something for that upper sort of chest and head level, the vulnerable
just
parts.
Straight ahead, yeah. I love it. Okay, and then my last question is, since we're talking about the lower body, have you thought about adding in anything for overhead obstacle, or is that maybe not advisable with the sensor?
Sorry. Overhead meaning something that's above the head, or that it's at head level?
Like a tree branch. No, like a tree branch. Like I'm a short person, and so for me, tree branches, depending on their height, they can either be like right at the top of my head or higher up. So it's either I'll hit them or I'll go under them and not notice. Right.
So the sensor, the sensors cover objects to slightly above the head, so they
okay, cool.
They are open. Yeah, so you're going to still. I mean, our purpose was to warn you if you're going to collide with something and hurt yourself.
That's great for poles. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's able to detect objects like tree branches, especially. We heard a lot of comments from people whether they're people who are blind walking around in springtime or O&M specialists carrying garden shears. So that was one of the primary obstacles that we were concerned about, just because they're inconsistent and plants.
Right. Okay.
And
Okay.
Morgan,
Thank you.
to pitch in on the WeWalk. So if you have a specific question, you're welcome to ask it and I can try to address it. If you wanted to try WeWalk, it's actually available at the North State store, which is located in the Vista's San Jose office. It's open by appointment, so you can coordinate a time and stop by and try it.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, I just heard recently about the WeWalk 2 and the integration with ChatGPT, and really my biggest, I guess, intrigue is, how does that work with actually directing somebody to their destination? And that's, I didn't even try the one, so I haven't had an opportunity yet. So I might reach out to North State. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So the 2 works a lot better than 1. So if you haven't tried 1, don't try it. Try the 2. 1 is, there are a few units available for sale here and there, but the company has switched to 2, which is a much better solution. So WeWalk has really 3 different features, if you will. You can connect it to the WeWalk app on your phone, and through the phone, it knows your GPS location. So either on the app or directly, depending on your preference, you can say, take me to a Starbucks, or take me to Vista Center, or take me to 123 Main Street, San Jose, California. And it will tell you directions. It's not going to move your cane for you, but it will tell you, walk until, the end of the corner and make a right, or something like that, right? So you would have to either listen to it through your cane, which cane talks and listens to you, or if you wanted something more private and maybe hear it better, especially if you're on a busy street, you can connect earphones to your phone and you'll be able to hear what it says, through earphones. So that's directions.
That's great.
Similar to Tommy, it has obstacle detection, kind of chest app. The technology used in the cane is a little bit different than what's used in Tommy, but the idea is the same, to help you protect yourself from any obstacles that are, between your waist and sort of a head level. And you can set the cane on, like, you can set it to your preferences. If you, let's say, if you are navigating indoors, you may want to set it to like a short obstacle avoidance, and if you're outside, maybe longer obstacle avoidance. So that's just a setting which you can go back and forth depending on your environment, and the cane will vibrate as you approach the obstacle. So that will alert you that there is an obstacle. It's not going to tell you what it is or where it is, but it will vibrate, so you'll know there is an obstacle. And then the third thing is the ChatGPT. So you can say, is there a good steak restaurant nearby? And it will tell you, yes, there is, Scott's Seafood, Ruth's Chris's and whatever else. And you say, okay, I want to go to Ruth's Chris's. Then the GPS will kick in, will give you the directions. And then you can say, and by the way, are there also shrimp on the menu? And it will tell you, assuming that menu is available online, it will tell you the shrimp dishes. So that's how the ChatGPT part works.
Okay. And it's using the Wi-Fi off the cellular connection off your phone, right? Like a hotspot. Okay. And one more question, one more confirmation. It will announce street crossings, correct? Like, let's say I'm in Palo Alto and coming up to El Camino in California.
I'm not sure. I just I would have checked, except I let my cane, I let somebody else borrow my cane, so I can't check for you. I don't remember how it announces I think it's just directions. It's like what you would, I think it's similar to what you would hear on Google Map.
Got it. Okay. Well, it sounds better because Google, to my knowledge, Google Maps won't tell you turn right. So that's when I've tested it anyways.
Yeah, it should tell you kind of step-by-step navigation, assuming you're outdoors. It doesn't do any navigation indoors.
Indoors, yeah. Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
Good questions. Thanks for asking.
I have a question for Patrick, and kind of to piggyback on that, talking about Benvision and navigating indoors, and if you could elaborate a little bit more on that and getting a potential venue mapped out, or and then also, yeah, just elaborating on the indoor aspect, I think.
Yeah. So Ben right now, when it comes to indoor, it actually can be indoor or outdoor navigation. That part's not super explicit, but we use a technology called VPS, or Visual Positioning System, where we, as you alluded to, we create a scan of the space, and by using either our phones or a special camera that has LiDAR, it creates a 3D mesh of that space, and then we bring that into our backend, and we drop musical waypoints at, say, the entrances and exits and the key furniture and other features of the space that aren't going to be moved around a lot. And that solution is it's great at a small scale, but one challenge that we realized is that it's when you try to bring out the scale at larger, it presents some challenges. That it requires, you know, somebody on our team to physically visit the space to create the scan, and then in order to localize it, or to integrate it into our software so that it will localize, that takes compute power, and when you multiply that to say you want to activate, you know, several hundred spaces, that adds up. So so this is somewhere that I think that the visual language models, like Gemini and the others that have been kind of popping up, I think that those will present an alternate pathways. Now there are other companies like Good Maps and I think there's one called like Lazarillo, that they seem to have figured out the mapping thing, or maybe they're just getting like a ton of funding from other partners. I don't really know the insides of their economics, but they seem to have figured it out. But at least from our perspective, we realized that with the scalability issue, it's not really the way that we're handling it with VPS right now. It's not going to make sense to bring it to a larger scale solution. So yeah, to reiterate, it's probably going to be the VLMs that we'll be relying on in the future.
Perfect. That sounds also too that with and as environments change, that it can be a little more customized to that, and someone wouldn't have to come and re-scan and stuff like that. So that's really exciting. I wanted to hear a little bit more about how you've received the sounds. So the musical notes, or the sounds that you're going to be you know, audibly hearing. What are those created from? Are they, just out of curiosity, I'm a huge music person, and so like when you said symphony for directions, I was like, oh my gosh, I would just go for a walk, you know, and it's very meditative and so forth. So what does it sound like?
Yeah, so our audio engineer, our audio director, she has a process where she'll for objects, for instance, she'll compose an entire soundscape based on the space that we give her. So say it's like a lounge area or something, she'll look at the space and kind of compose a soundscape that reminds her of that space. And then she'll break up the different tracks in that soundscape based on the object that she's composing for. So say it's a potted plant or a couch or a painting or something or other. And based on those objects, she'll pair like a Foley sound or like a sound effect with that track, with each track that's been broken up to those objects. So what you end up with is like the potted plant has, it sounds like kind of like rustling leaves, but there's some musicality behind it. And so the potted plant track is like, yeah, it's rustling leaves with a music track. And then the painting, in one instance, we had a painting of a woman playing the piano. And so the painting sounded like a piano melody. But that because they were paired with these underlying tracks that had already been pre-composed for the entire soundscape, they all play together and sound like a complete melody when you have them all playing at the same time.
That sounds awesome. Last thing with that is, so, and I apologize for the question if it's already been answered, but it's an app, correct? And then
Yes,
with
yeah.
that, is it only available for iOS or is it also on Android?
Right now, it's only iOS, and that's because of the SDKs we're working with. We built it on Unity, and because of the specific SDK that we use to do the VPS, the 3D mapping, that's only compatible with an older version of Unity that doesn't that came out before Unity offered accessibility features. And so we need to use an open source library in order to make it screen reader compatible, but that open source library only outputs to iOS. So it's
I know.
ridiculous technical
Yeah.
restriction, but that's how it goes.
And then sorry, one last thing is there a cost or monthly
No.
subscription or anything like that? Okay.
No,
Wonderful.
yeah, but it's still in beta. But it's free to use, and our business model is that we work with the spaces and partner with them, and they fund the activations.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much. Anat, did you have something to add? Did I hear you?
Patrick just said that. I was going to say, in order for the app to work, the space needs to commission Benvision to map the space. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
Thank you. Bob, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation today. Patrick, I was wondering, you had mentioned your I believe you call it your sound engineer or your sound expert that comes up with the various sounds. Does she work with, say, blind focus groups? I'm wondering if, and I became blind later in life, so I'm not a good example of what I'm about to speak of. But I'm wondering if you asked a blind person, what do you think of when you picture XYZ? And or if there was a sound associated with what you think of when you hear such and such. I'd just be curious if you had done any surveys or anything like that to try to see how the blindness community perceives objects and sounds associated with them.
Absolutely. That's a great question, Bob, and thank you for it. So we do conduct focus groups nearly on a quarterly basis. And so our audio director doesn't work directly with the blind community the way that you're describing, but we do conduct focus groups, and one of the pieces of feedback we collect is how are the sounds resonating for them, and are they intuitive, and are they helpful? And there have been things that came up that we realized, like, oh, we need to adjust this a little bit because for instance, we had a sound for a lamp that one of our participants revealed that she couldn't hear the sound because it was at too high of a frequency. And we realized, oh, well, a lot of blind people are also potentially at an age where they can't hear certain frequencies. And so we needed to dial that down a little bit. So to answer your question, we do work with the blind community to gather their feedback about the sounds themselves, but it's not the first step in her process.
Great question. Morgan, I see that you have your hand raised again.
Hello. Sorry for the more questions. So I have, first off, a little bit of feedback just because you mentioned the app Lazarillo, and then I also do have some questions regarding the musical soundscape GPS. I'm blanking on the name, I apologize. I've used Lazarillo to navigate around my neighborhood, my old neighborhood. And one of the things I observed is that it will tell you all of the places that you're passing, but it does it so rapidly that, you know, sometimes you could be halfway down the street and it might be announcing something that was, you know, on your left, maybe a door or two down. And so that was a little confusing for me. Regarding, Bob, I loved your question about the blindness focus group. It's fascinating to me to think about the way this, some of these things work. I myself became blind young-ish. I was very late teens. I was legally blind before. And so for me, I do still think very visually versus my partner who's always been blind. So we'll get on these topics of like, well, you know, if I say the color green, what do you think of when you hear that? And it's just a fascinating discussion. For your for my question, two questions here. Number one, is it only sounds, or are you layering in any kind of GPS direction, like if it's a store, for example, that I'm looking for on the street?
Right now, it's only sound, so it's for smaller smaller scale navigation, like getting you from one door to another inside a room, or from the front entrance into the building. And so right now it does not provide any spoken cues. It's purely music. So, but it's not it's not to be used like GPS where you would be finding, you know, like a Starbucks or a Subway or something. It's more once you're in that space, how do you get from that to find the bathroom, for instance?
Got it. Okay. And the other, this is more of an idea, just in case you don't have it implemented. And I don't know if you do or not, but if do you have perhaps a section where somebody can go and listen to the different sounds? For example, you mentioned lamp. Well, somebody could go and play the lamp sound. That way they know, oh, this means lamp.
Yes.
Before they get it.
Yeah, we did. We haven't implemented into the app yet, but we do have a little menu that we've designed for onboarding where you can go and listen to the different sounds. Right now in our beta app, the way most folks handle it is we give them the ability to isolate each sound so that so you can swipe to different to the lamp or to the couch or to the entrance or exit and isolate that sound, so that's all that you're hearing. And that seems to be enough right now. But to your point, that's not a bad idea, and it's something that we've explored. It's kind of just giving users access to the full library so that when they're resting or not necessarily trying to navigate, if they want to spend that time learning what the different things sound like, or sometimes it's just fun. So yeah, good idea.
Okay, fabulous. That's a great, thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, oh, are you guys actually out, or if you're in beta, are you on test flight? And But then when you said that it only works in certain spaces, I'm like, oh, so I couldn't just, take it and move it around my office, for example, or my house. So,
Unfortunately,
though.
not yet. But we are building a similar solution into our app Speakaboo. I'm gonna say like in the midsummer, we're pushing an update in Speakaboo that's going to be more based on the visual LMs.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So you will be able to use that version anywhere.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm a Speakaboo user. I do enjoy it. So thank you.
Oh, great. Happy to hear it.
Thank you so much. Morgan, you had mentioned, you said the musicals, and I was like, wait, Broadway? Like, so we've got some belting and some,
Don't get too excited, Ryan.
I know.
Well, I was thinking with your sound library, maybe you could make it eventually user selectable, so that if I, think of a particular sound when, something happens, I could select that one for that object or something like that. But I realize how complicated that would be to give everybody the option to go through and choose the sounds that they want associated with different things, but that might be a nice customizable feature.
Yeah, a great point, Bob. I think down the line, that's something that we could introduce. The reason that we haven't yet is because of because we need to have some way to control and make sure that all of the sounds sound good together, so it's not a cacophony. But I think you're right that eventually we will want to give users the ability to kind of customize their soundscapes in some way. So, great point.
That's great. Well, I wanted to thank our panelists. We appreciate you all so much and the work that you're doing in our community. We appreciate you here at Vista. You all are special to us, and we're privileged to know you. And so, so thank you for being a part of today's discussion. If anyone has any further questions for our panelists today, feel free to reach out to myself. Also, if it's all right, I can pass information along to our panelists. Awesome, thank you. I've gotten a thumbs up and head nods. And so thank you again so much, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Well, we appreciate Vista Center, and it was great to answer your questions. Thank you guys for joining and listening to us. So we're happy to support you in whatever way we can.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really great to know that it's only going to get better for our community. You know what I mean? With all the stuff coming out and the brilliant minds as yours that are behind ideas that I couldn't have ever come up with. And so it's just wonderful to know that it'll only get better. So yeah. So thank you all. Happy Friday, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.